Welcome back to the Only Tottenham podcast. Another podcast, another time saying, how on earth is Thomas Frank still here?
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's because we're doing obviously so well in the Champions League. That's why we're absolutely we're flying and we're on for top 8 on Wednesday, mate. That's why he's still here.
Yeah. Me and Ben, this might be the least enthusiastic podcast of all time because, for a little bit of transparency, TikTok
don't say that right at the start of the podcast.
Yes. No, I'm joking. This is going to be a really high energy podcast, but basically, there's been lots of changes to TikTok today, which is obviously the platform that me and Ben mainly post on, and it's not good news for us creators. So it's a little bit of a sticky one at the moment, but that doesn't affect our podcast, does it, or our mood at all? We're going to be, all sunshine and rainbows today, especially with the way that Tottenham Hotspur are playing. A 2-2 draw to Burnley on Saturday. Obviously, our result at the weekend. We've got Frankfurt midweek, which we're going to get into a little bit later on in the pod as well. We've got lots of good questions from you guys over on Twitter as well, which we are going to get into as well. But if you are watching on YouTube, please do subscribe. I think we're 2 subscribers away from 3K subscribers on YouTube now, which would be a nice little bit of a milestone. So thank you very much for that, presuming that we do hit it after this podcast. If you are listening on Spotify, rate us 5 stars, Apple Podcasts, whatever. That would be greatly appreciated. But Ben, thoughts on Saturday as a whole, drawing away at Turf Moor?
Oh yeah, we are. We are 2 subscribers away. 2 subscribers away. Whoever is the 3,000th sub will get
shout out.
We'll get shout out on the next episode. How do I feel about drawing 2-2 to Burnley?
That should be an obvious question, yeah.
About as good as I feel about these TikTok changes at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah.
With that being said, please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube as well, like our individual platforms, because that could come very much in handy over the next few months, to be honest. That's probably where you'll see maybe more of our content. Anyway, Burnley, yeah, I mean, I think we all kind of came to the same conclusion after that game, or we're asking ourselves the same question about how he's still in a job and these kind of things. Come Sunday morning, there weren't even any real whispers about Thomas Frank losing his job, which there definitely were, obviously, off the back of the West Ham game. So it just makes you massively question the people that are running the football club, the higher-ups, because it seems like they're very much just judging his future on a game-by-game basis, which is just an incredible way to run a football club, really. And I think we've got some questions about that. But yeah, the game in isolation as well. Like, again, I think it was definitely better than obviously what we saw against West Ham. The bar is completely on the floor. Yeah. Spurs had 7 shots on target in that first half. We were playing better, even though I think that obviously a lot of those shots and chances kind of came from set piece situations or second phases from set piece situations, like the double save that Dubravka was made in the first half, which was a brilliant couple of stops. He made some other great saves throughout the game as well, but it was Odegaard's volley or half volley on the edge of the box from a set piece. Gallagher then followed it up, obviously. Van der Ven's goal came from a second phase from a set piece as well. We still weren't really creating many decent chances from open play outside of moments of individual quality, like Odegaard's little kind of nutmeg and run to then bend that shot that Dubravka had to save.
Yeah. The little Solanke one as well. He had big chance Solanke had that. It was a brilliant save from Dubravka.
In the second half, but in the first half, I mean, Xavi played through Odegaard as well, that he probably should have had more conviction on the finish. I think that was a 1-0 as well that could have made it 2-0. But I mean, and then the second half, just the kind of thing the one thing I want to go to first is Thomas Frank's comments after the game, which I mean at this point just aren't really worth listening to at all. But he said, what did he say? He said, I don't think it was a bad performance. It was maybe not the result we hoped for. I think the performance, if you look at it throughout the game, especially the first half, was good. The way we ended the game was good. And I just think that, obviously, that is true. We played quite well in the first half compared to where we've been. The bar, as I said, is very low at the moment. Obviously, we ended the game well, but he's completely neglecting the bit in the middle of the game where we relinquished all of the kind of control, really. Yes, we had some chances and some spells, but we gave Burnley more confidence, more impetus. Like they were growing throughout the game in that second half. After getting back in it just before half time, we didn't really come out and show a great response in the second half, and then obviously we had to end the game well because we were absolutely chucking everything at it to make sure that we got something out of Burnley away. So again, the comments that he's saying aren't wrong, but he's just totally neglecting the bit in the middle where you fail to control a game of football and deliver a consistent threat over 90 minutes against a team who haven't won since October. And again, that's the same as West Ham, who were on I can't remember when the last time they won was before they played us.
Games.
I know Bournemouth was 11. Yeah, I think maybe it was West Ham 11 as
well.
They
were both 11 and Burnley were 13, weren't they?
So we've just dropped points 3 games in a row against 3 teams that I think were below us in all of those games as well by the time the game was actually happening, and teams that hadn't won since basically October. We had a run of 5 games in a row where we played Brentford, Bournemouth, West Ham, Sunderland and Burnley as well. We haven't picked up a win in any of those, and I'm not quite sure how the club feel like he's going to be able to get a win against Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool or Manchester United. So I think the reality of the situation, especially with some of the other results at the weekend, that we've given confidence to these other teams, and obviously Leeds haven't played Everton tonight as well, but you know, we've pushed ourselves into a relegation battle, and I think had the club acted earlier potentially in moving on from him when it should have been done at the start of January, in my opinion, or maybe even earlier than that.
Should have been done in October.
November.
When do we lose to Arsenal?
Arsenal was the end of November, so I think
it should have been end of November, early December.
Yeah, after the Fulham game, I think was when I fully turned, and that was the end of November. So I think if we'd have had even made the change in December and then go on a run in February to use that new manager bounce that does tend to just happen in those games in February, we would not be in a position where we're looking over our shoulder. Yes, wouldn't expect us to pick up many points over this run in February, but we wouldn't have to worry about it necessarily. We'd probably just write off the season and have a go at the Champions League, and then we'd hopefully come out the other side in March when we actually got some more bearable fixtures.
Imagine we're in a situation where people say, "Oh, you can't get an interim for these fixtures." Look at what happened to United. Look at what happens when you sack a manager that the fan base is unanimously against. Pretty much, there are some people that are still franking out there. They do exist somehow.
I don't think there are. Did you see Sam Cornish's poll?
No.
And on the Fighting Cock, for listeners of Fighting Cock, they'll know that they do they've got a partnership with Fan Narrative, who basically is kind of, they collect data and social media kind of, what's the word, I guess, sentiment from every fan base. And I think Thomas Frank's popularity rating in terms of in or out was about 3% after the Borussia Dortmund game in.
See, there are still some.
Yeah, and Sam Cornish's one that he did from 16,700 votes was 93% or 92.4% out. So 7.6%.
Yeah,
but out of 16,000, that's nothing. So
No, definitely the majority, obviously the large majority are Frank out. But imagine you get rid of him, getting an interim manager, say, I don't know, I genuinely don't even know who we'd get in at this point. There are a number of options out there, of course, and imagine you do that. The fan base gets a lift because that sort of bubble has been burst. You're out of the Thomas Frank bubble now, and we've got a home North London derby coming up during this time. You've got a home game against Newcastle, midweek under the lights, big game for us. You've got a lot of big fixtures coming up at home away to Manchester United, going to Old Trafford. We need a lift for those fixtures. If we keep Thomas Frank in charge for those fixtures, the atmosphere will be dreadful. The players will still be playing in the same awful way. The system will still be faltering and failing, and the exact same thing that happens when we played all of those big sides earlier on in the season will happen again. The exact same thing. And so if you get an interim in, like Manchester United did with Michael Carrick, look at that. They've gone to the Emirates and picked up a win. They've beaten Manchester City at Old Trafford. It's one of the best away ends and one of the most electric Old Trafford atmospheres that I've seen, because they have had that lifted. They have had that weight lifted off their shoulders that was Ruben Amorim. And they've had Michael Carrick come in, a bit of positivity injected. And I just feel like Spurs could do so could do with that at the moment, especially with some of our fixtures coming up. And look, it's a bit of a weird one against City at the weekend in terms of, obviously we all want Spurs to win, right? But you're helping Arsenal's title chances if they do win. It's one of those games where I'm sure a lot of Spurs fans would see a silver lining if we did lose. And
I just don't care. I don't care at this point. I mean,
no.
I've kind of just accepted that Arsenal are going to win the league regardless of what happens yesterday. We've just got to hope they lose to Leeds at the weekend. So if we beat City, the gap doesn't. But at the same time, like, it's the same as, I think there were people that wanted to lose like the West Ham game and stuff like that. It's like, as much as I want Frank out, I just don't buy into all that stuff. We need to win games of football, I don't see I mean, I don't see us doing that with Thomas Frank. I think that obviously there's more jeopardy for an interim manager stepping into Spurs than there is Man United. I know obviously the Man United job comes with so much pressure, but they are obviously in a much better place than we're at.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do agree. Like, the thing is there's not that, like, unlike there was with Man United with like Carrick or Ollie, who was obviously rumoured strongly to get the job in the first place after they sacked Amrin. There's not that. Who is that guy that Spurs could turn to and go,
true.
Oh, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. Like, I'm fully on board with getting an interim manager. I think that it's something that Tottenham should look to do. I do worry that people say like Johnny Heitinger and stuff, well, it couldn't be worse. It's like I wouldn't that I'd almost rather
be
just
surprised
keep
if
Frank.
it was. Yeah.
But then again, I do feel like maybe the only advantage to getting rid of Frank and just keeping Johnny Heitinger is that I mean, he's the one that's taking the training and stuff. Frank's quite hands off, so obviously that indicates that Heitinger. I know he's only been here a week or so, and hasn't had time to work with the players, which I do understand. But obviously, he's the one that is coaching these players a lot of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe a fresh voice that takes over the whole thing might be able to help galvanise the players, but also the fans. Like, I think the fans would still get behind it. Like, it wouldn't be what we wanted, but like I think that you'd probably, like you said, go into those games. Just because Frank isn't there, with naturally a bit more, your chest puffed out a little bit more, feeling a little bit better, regardless of. I think it's
Would
almost
you
like
take
anyone
Mason?
but Frank at this point. I mean, I'm obviously less inclined to say yes now after what happened with West Brom.
Yeah.
But I also think with West Brom, it's a bit of a weird one because they did have a lot of games where a lot of it was just like they weren't taking their chances and stuff. I know, obviously, I remember.
My thing is just I love Ryan Mason, so it's like even if it was going worse,
I wouldn't be against it.
You know it's only till the end of the season. Like I said, I don't think we're going to get relegated. I think it's at this point. I think it's maybe too big of a risk. I think maybe I don't know. Maybe if we sack Thomas Frank after a few bad results, after we've had a few better results, for example, and we're less in danger of actually getting relegated, then maybe it's just a feel-good appointment of Mason for the rest of the season. But would Poch come back until the World Cup? People talking about getting him after the World Cup. Would he come back as interim until the World Cup? Obviously not.
No way.
But
it'd still be.
I know it's not actually possible.
I honestly don't know. I really don't know what they would actually do. Part of me feels like, and this may be a cynical way to look at it, but part of me, I mean, nothing's off the table with Tottenham, really, is it? And obviously this kind of goes in hand, and maybe what we're going to talk about in the last week of the transfer window. But maybe are they going to keep him until the end of the window after the City game to try and dress up the fact that Tottenham aren't as much of a circus as we actually are? And no, we're not going to sack him when you're trying to convince players that they should join and all this kind of stuff. Like, we're sticking by the manager. Our players are going to want him to step into Tottenham right now anyway. I guess not, but are they going to try and
it doesn't feel like we're active in the market.
Like, it's just the transfer window is an absolute shambles. Like, it's an absolute disgrace. Like, I mean,
Andy Robertson's fallen through. Did we speak about Robertson on the pod?
No, it came out on Friday, didn't it?
Right.
We haven't really spoken about it, but it doesn't seem like it's happening now. Although Alistair Gold did say that there is a chance that it could still happen if Roma get in a left back, which apparently they are linked with someone. So.
Right.
But whether it's just that Liverpool want Andy Robertson to stay specifically, or it's whether they want a left-back depth option and it's Tsimikas coming back, that hasn't really been clarified yet. I just think that they have pulled the plug on it until they know what is actually happening. So it could still happen, Robertson. But
it's also the 25th of January now. Like, we don't have loads of time. Yeah,
closes a week today.
It's a joke, mate. It's actually a joke. Like, we had so many issues in our squad that could have been potentially addressed in this January, even with short-term loan deals potentially until the end of the season, and we've just failed to address any of them. And look, Conor Gallagher, if we end the transfer window with Gallagher and Sousa as our two signings, that's an absolute horror show of a transfer window. And I was okay with leaving maybe the attacking signing until, I think we discussed it on the pod quite a lot, I was happy with leaving that until the summer to find the right guy instead of panic buying in January. But that was almost kind of before then. Kudus, Richarlison, half of our attacking players were ruled out until March time, April time after the international break. And I think that, the fact that I believe that a competent football club might have even done something like cutting Kolo Muani's loan short in January because it's just not working out for all parties right now, and then going and maybe bringing in another attacker on loan that was maybe a left winger that could help contribute in more of the position that we actually need them to contribute in, or something like that, or just going and getting another attacker. I don't know. It's just baffling, and maybe the deals weren't there to be done. The January transfer window is very difficult, but it just feels
I was trying to say this in a YouTube video I made a YouTube video last night where I was talking about this, right? Because the brief was from Spurs is that a left winger was the priority position going into this January transfer window, right? And that was still the line that was being towed even up until basically the start of January. Alistair Gold wrote a big piece, or it might have been a YouTube video or something, that got aggregated that said those exact things on the 29th of December, which is after we found out that Semenyo didn't want to come to us, which was, I'm pretty sure, before Christmas even. And it was even still at that point where it sounded like the City deal was about to get tied up. So who on earth was the backup option? It's Diamonde.
We didn't have one, mate. We didn't have one.
But it's just like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like,
the planning from the club is an utter shambles and a complete embarrassment.
This is what happens when Liverpool, like, I wasn't massively against Andy Robertson and I wasn't massively for it, but it just stinks when things happen like they do last night, where it comes out that Liverpool want to keep him. That's what happens when you take a scattergun approach to a transfer window with no real thought behind it, no real planning whatsoever, is that you get caught short with a week to go and all your plans are kind of up in smoke, even though we haven't even attacked positions that seemingly were our number one target, like were priority positions anyway for us. It's just, it's an absolute shambles, mate. It's just that I really don't understand I don't know where on earth we go from here whatsoever. There are gaping holes in this squad, and what I can't live with about the left winger thing and the lack of backup option for someone like a Semenyo is that we're at the point now where we're playing Jed Spencer left wing. And even then, you're still playing him over an actual left winger that's been your best attacker over the last month on the bench in Matisse Tell. And then trying to, like, souring the relations between yourself as the manager and one of the brightest talents at the football club. And again, the bar is low. Like, it's again, like, I want to talk about Odebear in this pod, about his performance at the weekend. And obviously, we've spoken quite a lot about Matisse Tell over the last few weeks and kind of expressed our distaste about him being left out of the Champions League squad, even though Solanke scored and played well and all those kind of things. And a lot of it just doesn't sit right with me whatsoever. And when you're only bringing him on in a game against Burnley, when we go 2-1 down, that is such an encapsulation of everything that is wrong with Tottenham at the moment. Reactive, not proactive, in terms of the coaching, in terms of the transfer strategy, absolutely everything. In terms of the higher ups, in terms of what they do with the manager, seemingly judging his future on a game by game basis, everything is reactive, not proactive. I genuinely think the Lewis, whether it's this younger lot, part of the Lewis family, who have come in, are so out of their depth, and Vinay Venkatesham is so out of his depth as well, and so is Johan Lang. They're all out of their depth. And when you're heading towards a relegation battle, like, that is an incredibly scary thought as to when you think about the people that are running this football club. It's just, all of it all follows the same pattern. Everybody at the football club, it's reactive, not proactive.
100%. Yeah, totally agree with all of it. So, should we talk a bit about Odebear? Because I do think he was I think he probably was the bright spark from Saturday's game. He was my man of the match. I thought he was the best player on the pitch in terms of a threat throughout the entire 90 minutes. And
it was his best performance in a Tottenham shirt over 90 minutes by a country mile.
Yeah, he was so lively. Maybe because he feels comfortable and he doesn't feel anxious at Turf Moor because he played there for 2 years. I don't know whether that's the reason why, but he was outstanding on the right hand side. And I feel like he's really almost making that right wing spot his own in Kudus' absence. Like, I think he looks so much more comfortable over there than he does on the left hand side. I thought he was brilliant in his performance at the weekend. Just the way he was sort of gliding around the pitch and taking men on. And again, like me and Ben have discussed so many times on this podcast, the bar is quite low for Tottenham in terms of what a good performance looks like at the moment, right? But that was an excellent performance, and he was really, really unlucky not to get more than his one assist. And it was a great ball in for Romero to salvage us a point. And I feel like because so many people were kind of just, it wasn't like, I didn't really celebrate the equaliser. I was kind of like, oh, well, there you go, we've equalised kind of thing. I feel like because it wasn't a goal that people were gassed about or that excited about, like the actual praise for the players involved in the goal has been dampened a little bit by that
quality goal.
Yeah. quality cross, quality header from Christian Romero as well. Our centre-backs saving us once again. But Audebert had a couple of lovely shots outside of that, and it was really good.
Also good, really good from Matty's Tell for that goal as well, because I think when you can see, like, when he picks the ball up in that set, and again, he had an impact when he came on as well, involved in the goal. He had that was a brilliant save from Dubravka from Tell's chance in that second half. When he came on, and that was instantly as he came on as well. When you look back at that kind of still image of the goal before Audebert gets the cross in, Tell is the one that plays that ball through. I think does he play it to Spence or play it to Audebert directly? I think he plays it to Spence,
who then lays off to Audebert.
But you can see Spence like trying to say to him to go round, like to just get it out wide, which would have given Burnley probably more time to actually settle in the box, those kind of things. Tell plays a brave pass through to Spence, who then quickly plays it to Audebert. It's like the instruction clearly that's been set into the players is just get it out to the flank and like see what happens. It's Tell who kind of takes the risk, who goes, no, play it. I'm going to play it in this little pocket where Spence is. Spence doesn't actually want it. He deals with it well and plays it obviously out to Audebert, who gets a really good cross in. But Spence is kind of saying to him to just like go past me, go round. Like, and I think that would have given Burnley more time to then settle. So it's good from Tell to take the initiative. But yeah, I thought you're right. I think Audebert does look more comfortable on the right. Actually, I think that when I remember that AZ Alkmaar game, that was probably his best 90 minutes before yesterday. Again, that came on the right hand side as well, with Son playing on the left. I think what you notice a lot more, actually, which is weird considering on the left hand side he'd be dribbling probably more on his stronger foot actually on his right, but I think his two-footedness when it comes to his dribbling is much more on show on the left as well. He's very happy to come inside. He's very happy to go on the outside. I think he's he's much more unpredictable there. I think his crossing is a lot better. I think his left-footed crossing is actually just poor. Like you look at what Spence sometimes, where Spence can get to the line. At least he can cut it back with a little bit of venom. Like Audebert, a lot of the time it's often powder puff. His crossing's not that like cute either. He can't really hold it up, or like sort of like stand it up to the back post, or certainly can't deliver the crosses with as much venom. And actually, when he's had a consistent opportunity to play on the right and shown that he can deliver from the right hand side, he was whipping balls in with a lot of venom on that right hand side. Like, and also it was like a bit like watching Aaron Lennon. Like the way for that Xavi Simons chance, he got to the byline, the one that Xavi hit the bar with. That was so good. He's got to score that, by the way.
I know it's unlucky.
Really? I mean, he hits the bar. There's like three players on the line that I think could have blocked it. I think that's harsh. I think there's other elements. I think that's harsh. I mean, he hits the bar. I think there's other elements of Xavi's game that are worth talking about from that game. But I thought it was a bit unlucky there. But yeah, I thought Audebert was definitely and what really pissed me off actually was I saw like a lot of people on Twitter like rim-licking Marcus Edwards, saying that he was really good, he'd walk into this Tottenham team and all that kind of stuff. I was just like,
absolute crap.
If Marcus Edwards played for Tottenham, you'd be saying the exact same sort of things about what people say about Audebert and Tell, that they're championship level and all this kind of stuff, they need to be upgraded. Like, Marcus Edwards would not walk into that Tottenham team. I totally understand I was having an argument with someone about this in a Fighting Cock group chat earlier, Alex from Bristol, and we were talking, like, I totally understand that people have had reservations about gassing up Audebert so far, because a lot of it has been flashes, a lot of it has been moments. There has been games where he's hidden and has not done enough and has not been brave enough to take players on, not been brave enough with the ball, etc, etc, etc. A lot of it has been flashes and moments. But if he's coming away with any sort of criticism from the game on Saturday, or trying to point score and use other players to put him down, it's just ridiculous. I really don't get it. And hopefully, what I actually liked about it was Saturday. If we'd have lost that game, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was obviously still pretty low, but Saturday threatened to potentially be like our lowest ebb in a really, really low season. And actually, it was him who we've questioned his mentality before, questioned his ability to stand up in the tough moments, looked at and compared him to Matty's Tell, who clearly can puff his chest out and, not hide from situations. One, I don't think Audebert's actually been doing that in recent weeks anyway, to be honest. I think there's been a clear shift in confidence probably from the Villa game onwards up until now. I think he's been consistently quite good in all of the games since then. But I think he's, in that game certainly on Saturday, addressed one of the big question marks that fans, I think, had over him. Like, I know it was Burnley away, but circumstances, like relative context, like he stood up when we really needed him. I thought he was a real constant threat throughout the 90 minutes and looked just confident. And maybe it's the new trim that's done something to him. I don't know. Because it's kind of cool since then. Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I think your point about his crossing makes a lot of sense as well. Like, when he gets around the outside, he's able to just whip it across the face of goal with his right foot. He looks a lot more comfortable doing that. And I also think that
he's got that left-footed, like almost clipper in his bag a little bit more on the right-hand side, where when he cuts inside, it's like a different technique to when you, and also when you're on the left-hand side and you're getting to the byline, you're often running at quite a lot of pace, so you don't have the ability to really slow yourself down before putting in the cross. Whereas when you cut inside from the right, you've got a little bit more time to measure it, and he does do better in those scenarios. I still don't think it's a real strength for him, but in terms of having the ability to go both ways, and I also think that he sometimes feels more comfortable shooting on his left foot than he does with his right. That shot he had where he curled it round the defender and it was going in the bottom corner to Bravka's save, that's an unbelievable strike with his left foot. So, I think, he definitely looks more comfortable on the right. I think he's really impacting games now. 3 assists in his last 2 games for us, which is a good return. People talking about his goals, he's not scoring goals. He's playing as a wide player, as a touchline winger in this system, and he's got 3 assists in his last 2 games. That's a good return, and especially against Dortmund, like 2 nice assists, really, really nice assist against Burnley. It's not like he's just laying it off to somebody 5 yards out who's then smashing the ball into the back of the net. These are like top quality winger assists, good quality winger assists. So I'm really happy with
that was quality. I thought that was quality. I think you're right as well about coming off that right hand side, crossing on his left foot. I do think you're right. I think I love how comfortable he is to dribble on both feet. And also there was a moment in that second half as well where I don't know whether it's because he's just maybe fitter than he has been at Spurs before, whether it's a confidence thing. I don't know, but they were like his pace. I think is really. It's like he's gained in the last few.
He looks
games,
quicker on the right hand side. He just. I don't know what aesthetically he looks quicker over there.
It's like literally the same as like Lennon. Like I feel like when we had Redknapp and he swapped Bale and Lennon. Obviously, you're not doing as many straight line runs as a right foot on that left hand side, but you never really got. There wasn't ever really a massive drop off in Bale's game because obviously he had that. Either on the left hand side, he could just kick it and run past you and cross. Or on the right-hand side, he was equally as threatening because, all right, he might not be able to do that as much, but he could cut in and shoot or cross from the right-hand side. Whereas Lennon was nowhere near as impactful on the left-hand side as he was on the right, whereas Bale obviously was. Bale was obviously a better player, but as a wing threat, they were obviously both together, they were very, very threatening. And I think it's almost similar with Odegaard in the sense that, like, because I think he's probably running in straight lines a lot more and can get around the outside, you do see his burst of pace there a lot more. I'm gutted that we didn't get to see Odegaard fitter for longer periods under Ange. I really am, because I think with having more of a, and this kind of links back to what I said a few minutes ago about the fact that he's doing it and standing up in, I think, in an environment that doesn't necessarily suit a player of his style, and also like in tough moments where we have kind of questioned him before. I think having a manager like Ange, if he'd have been fitter for longer periods of last season. And he's probably taken a bit of a leap himself this season, second year at a big club and all that kind of stuff. But having a manager that I think would actually empower him and bring the best out of a player like that in terms of his direction, instruction, in terms of the general environment that's created in terms of playing positive football, I think it would have been a massive benefit to him. So it's a shame we didn't see it really. And I think if we are still in the Premier League next year, then I think he's going to go up another level. I do. I think we're on a nice. Hopefully, I mean, we've said this before about Odegaard, and he's kind of then gone into his shell a bit more. And obviously, we've got difficult games coming up, which will be a big test for him. But yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction with him, which is good. So
completely agree. Yeah, and I hear your point massively about going on. Sort of, Lennon was such a good example for that. Always looked way quicker and way more threatening on the right than he ever did on the left. And it feels like it's an aesthetics thing as well. Like they just look quicker over there. Maybe it's because they're more comfortable knocking it by a man when they know that they're going to be able to cross the ball with their right foot and they don't have to slow themselves down to get the real quality with their weaker foot. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's definitely progressing in the right way for Odegaard.
What about some other individual performances? I mean, I thought Javi Simmons had a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest, because I think in the last couple of games...
I thought he was really poor against Burnley.
I don't think he was really... I disagree. Like, I don't think he was really poor, but I think that there are elements of his game over the last couple of games that like have highlighted what he needs to work on massively. I said it after the Dortmund game where I think he had a good one. It's just the basics in terms of 5-yard passing. It's just like... It's so bad, weird. And I think it's an issue throughout the team. It's not just him, but for a number 10 that you spent £60 million on, it's a pretty important thing. I think that he had some bright moments, and I think what's nice now is that I think even when he's not necessarily playing at his best, which he definitely didn't on Saturday. I'm not pretending that he did, but he still actually is making things happen. Like that chance he set up for Solanke, he hit the bar with that shot. There was a couple of really nice moments he had in the first half where I think show what he's best at as a player anyway, where he can receive it on the turn in that little pocket off the left-hand side and dribble. And he got hacked down twice for those 2 Porro free kicks. Like I think that's him as a player. I think that's what he's best at. I don't think he's necessarily a obviously every number 10 has to be a passer, but I don't think that's his.
I get what you mean. It's
never been his best thing. I think he's a dribbler,
not like a
and he likes
James
to get shots
Maddison.
off. No, but that is something that needs massive work, and I totally understand why people would come to the conclusion that he had a poor game. I just think that he did some good things. I still think he's making things happen more so than he was. But yeah, that is a real frustration of what could actually be a really talented, well-rounded player.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, maybe really poor is harsh. I think I was just getting frustrated with kind of when he was getting to those decisive moments when he had to make a decision, whether he was dribbling with the ball or whatever it was. It was like you say, overhit or underhit passes, playing it slightly behind our wide players. It's just so frustrating when, like you say, he's got that knack about him where he gets the ball and he can just knock it past somebody and open up that little bit of space to then make a pass, have a shot from outside the box, and it just all feels so erratic right now when it actually gets to that part of his game. And I think that, Xavi Simons gets hacked down constantly. I think there was quite a lot of talk about it at the weekend, like how little protection he gets from the referees at the moment. And it does seem to be he gets a lot of nasty ones on his ankle.
Both of those should have been yellow cards. 100% should have been yellow cards.
And maybe it's because he goes down a little bit too easily sometimes, because I think he definitely does, but maybe that makes referees not buy it as much sometimes. But he definitely deserves a little bit more protection in that regard. I think midfielders constantly hacking at his ankles and not picking up yellow cards and then just being allowed to continue doing it. It's a frustration. I don't think that's just a Xavi Simons thing. I think that is a frustration with a lot of great attacking players in the Premier League.
Fans have said about Saka for years, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of examples.
I think that is definitely valid. But yeah, I mean, Xavi Simons is one of those where I don't have any doubts that he is going to explode under a manager that knows how to properly platform him and use him and actually develop him, because that's what Xavi Simons needs at this point. He needs developing into the player that we all believe that he can become. And the frustrations also come more from the fact that we know how good he can be. Like, I don't really get frustrated about players that I know are shit, unless they are just playing week in, week out, and I feel they don't deserve to be playing.
Yeah,
I get more
if there's someone else on
frustrated.
the bench that should be playing ahead of them, for example.
Yeah, for sure. I get more frustrated when it's players that I know have a certain level. It's like Romero at times this season, especially like the Liverpool game. I get way more frustrated when Romero's having a really poor game, and when like Xavi is having a really poor game, and when, I don't know, even to an extent, Porro is having a really poor game with his quality on the ball. When you know a player is capable of doing something and they're not demonstrating they are capable of doing it, especially on a regular basis, that is frustrating. And like you say, with that kind of final ball, that final element with Xavi at the minute, and it's why maybe earlier on I said that he's kind of like, I'd expect my number 10 to be able to score in the position he was in. And yes, he got unlucky hitting the bar, but it's again one of those where I just think, I don't know, he's just like, he's hit it like falling backwards a little bit, slightly off balance, and it's cannoned off the crossbar. I'm just like, I don't back him to score in those positions at the moment. I don't back him when he's carrying the ball.
He's not actually
to find
had
the correct pass.
Many though, has he? Like I did say after the Dortmund game, I think one of the things that was just
Finishing
way
that
off
game was dreadful. Yeah,
his like shooting radar, but that was kind of more from like outside the box. He had a couple, like he had that one where he sort of jinked through and obviously shot, then hit the, like a bit of a tight angle, goalkeeper saved it. There was the one in the first half where it dropped to him on his left foot that he definitely should have done better with. But
for example, like say about outside the box, that's kind of my point as well. Like you look at Buendia at the moment, for example, or Morgan Rogers at Villa. Lots of players from outside the box in the Premier League right now. You're getting space on the edge of the box because of the way teams are crowding the penalty area due to crosses coming into the box, set pieces, etc. There is space and room for number 10s to be scoring goals in the Prem right now. And I just feel like I don't trust Xavi in that area right now to either set himself up well enough for the shot or to get away a good enough shot to actually then worry the goalkeeper. He's had a couple of moments, and we know that he can do this. He's done it against England in the Euro semi-finals on the biggest stages. He's done it for Leipzig multiple times. We know he's capable of that, which makes it more frustrating, the fact that he doesn't even seem able to really set up the shots at the moment. It's like he receives the ball on the edge of the area and he wants to take too many touches or he wants to cut back. And sometimes you just think, I want him to be more decisive in that final action.
I think Wirtz is like that as well. I
have
a lot of the same frustrations with Wirtz. And I think Wirtz is a better player than Simmons. And I do love watching Wirtz. But yeah, I was almost like
against Bournemouth, you wanted Wirtz to just shoot.
My God, I was
literally shoot.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I have no dog in the fight, but I also wanted Liverpool to win, so Bournemouth didn't go above us. But I was like, I was just like, what is going on here? I was like, you've done the hard bit a lot of the time, just hit it, pull the trigger. He's so shot shy, and I think Simmons is the same. Even I go back to that goal against England for the Netherlands, it was so weird because he was almost like falling over. Like, it was such a weird goal.
It was a weird technique. It was a weird technique,
incredibly
brilliant
satisfying.
Technique,
yeah. It's incredibly satisfying, the fact that he's fucking budged Rice off the ball. But yeah, it was weird, maybe the fact that it does feel like over the last few games, the trend of him getting those kind of opportunities is actually going up compared to what we saw in the last few months. So maybe as he feels like he's getting more opportunities in those situations, maybe he will start to feel more confident. I don't know, because we spoke about in the first half of the season how starved he was of opportunities like that, and I don't think I'd seen him have a shot for Tottenham for months. So hopefully as he gets himself into situations like that more, he will find his radar.
It's like the Dortmund the Dortmund game is the great example of it, because
there's so many
I feel like we're so starved of seeing football like that and seeing Xavi Simons have the licence to play in the way that he did, that you almost ignore that part of his game because you're just like, oh my God, we're actually watching some fun football and winning a game of football. So it's like, you forgive him of that. But realistically, Xavi Simons should have been walking away from that Borussia Dortmund game with at least 2 goals, with the situations that he got himself into, and probably at least 2 assists as well. So it's that kind of thing where if a new manager does come in, I think that kind of situation should hopefully be occurring more regularly. That type of game should be happening far more regularly for Simons. And at that point, that's when you need Simons to start scoring and assisting on a regular basis, because again, in the Burnley game, we probably win that game if Simons is on it in the final third. We probably win that game if his shooting radar and his weight of pass was better. And that is a frustration that I think you are allowed to have with the individuals at the minute at Tottenham, because we're all so focused on the manager, and rightly so, because it's such a shambles with Frank. But actually, when you look at it sometimes, some of the defending from Van de Ven and Romero in that game, so I mean, we'll talk about that as well. I know that they both scored the goals, right, and they're doing brilliantly in the other box, but my word, the way Van de Ven got sent by Jadon Anthony, I know that it was kind of a little... It's one of those where he's gone to block the shot, right? It's not actually as embarrassing as it looks just because of the way he falls, you know what I mean? But also the defending from Romero...
It's the same as I remember the Isak one. Like, I know obviously it looks a lot bad because he fell over, but like I think because of Van de Ven's frame, I think, like you said, it can just look a lot worse.
He's a bit awkward, isn't he? Yeah, he's like Bambi on ice sometimes.
Gerard. Yeah, exactly, like Bambi on ice. But Romero, again, like a bit like the goal against Sunderland, jumps... And Foster, it's a good bit of movement from Foster, to be fair. But I don't know what he's doing. Doesn't really. I think the thing that annoyed me more was that he doesn't really make an effort to get back. Either when he does it.
The frustration with Romero for me at the minute is he seems so intent on dragging Tottenham Hotspur back into games almost by himself that
not thinking
it's
about
like the basics of defending is the thing that's actually taking the hit in his game right now. And again, he's like flying forwards into attacks, and that's all well and good. But it's almost like he's taking that mentality when we're actually in a situation where it's maybe a 4-on-4 or Burnley have got a bit of space and you've got a player on the edge of the box and he's jumping out like he's almost so desperate to win the ball back and then launch another attack because we need to get into the game or win the game. And then that is just costing us in another way where Burnley end up scoring a goal. And I mean, you know, Pedro Porro again, I think defensively...
Oh my God.
It's just like, it's unbelievable at the moment with Pedro Porro how poor he is, and I don't want to use him as a scapegoat.
Frank actually did hook him as well. Like he needed to come off. And again with Jed Spence, like I thought Spence was actually really good in that second half, like he going forward. And it's like, look what happens when this is a guy.
Spence is better than Porro at the minute, by the way. Like I'd start him over Porro right now, 100%.
And I think. And also, just quickly on that, by the way, there was a Fabrizio Romano tweet that just popped up on my phone while you were talking, or my laptop while you were talking, saying Andy Robertson to Tottenham is still one to watch. The deal is not off. A domino effect could occur, and Roma are interested in. Roma try and sign that Wolf from Wolves.
Right. Okay.
So we could still sign. I think there's still a chance we sign Robertson. So if Robertson does come in, not considered
completely off.
Yeah. If Robertson does come in, then I think that with the fact that you've got 2 good options at left back in Robertson and Udogie, then I do think you'll start to see Spence play on the right more. And I think almost Spence 100%. Probably thought in that second half, was like, I'm going to show you now. You've just hooked Porro at half time. I thought Spence's like his intensity and his aggressiveness in the way that he attacked, and he linked up with Odebear, I thought, as nicely as Porro did on Tuesday. Like, I know it's kind of different ways. Porro's a better passer than him. I mean, he didn't show that in the first half because he gave the ball away every single fucking opportunity. Yeah. As did Vicario, who is someone that we also need to speak about.
Vicario. But just, what a man, eh?
On what you said, just before we jump back to that, what you said about we also have to obviously look at players. This kind of leads me down two parts. If you look at Tottenham's underlying numbers for the last 5 games, kind of coupled with some of the stuff that Thomas Frank has been saying about the fact, he keeps going on about the positives and all those kind of things. I think the performance has been better. Yeah. The underlying numbers are actually trending in the right direction for Spurs. Actually, it was another, against Burnley, we should have won that game if you look at the XG and that kind of thing. And I think you could have made the case for us winning it. But I just think that when Thomas Frank makes those comments, he's not got anywhere near enough credit in the bank to kind of die on that hill when so much of what we're seeing is still so dire. Again, he's not necessarily wrong in some of the things that he's saying, but he's not got anywhere near enough credit to justify these performances. Mm-hmm. We are getting unlucky in some aspects. Like Dubravka did have one of the games of his life on Saturday, but there's still so many flaws where Spurs fans can't accept if we are just also getting a bit unlucky. So it kind of leads me down there. And if you said, look, players where Xavi was a bit more ruthless with that finish, and in a few moments where we broke away but the pass wasn't quite there, or some of the situations that we got ourselves into actually does then go back to Thomas Frank, because if we'd had a proper left winger on the pitch instead of Jed Spence, then we probably could have made more of some situations in the final third as well that we actually did play well to get into. So there's that, but also there's this discussion that's kind of going on socials at the moment about and we actually had a question about this, so I'll just pull this up.
Yeah, should we get in some of the questions now, do you reckon?
Yeah, let me just get this up quickly. It was about the kind of media narrative at the moment.
Let me fucking doing my head in. Doing my absolute nutting. Did you see the Glenn Murray clip from Match of the Day?
I was going to talk about that's what I was going to bring up, Glenn Murray and
I was clenching my fist like Arthur watching that. How can a guy say that Thomas Frank should be under zero pressure at the club and that he needs time with absolutely zero logical footballing reasons behind it? He's on Match of the Day. By the way, no offence to him or anything, obviously he was a good player, Glenn Murray, but why is he now just popping up on absolutely everything?
He was a co-comment for what game was I watching yesterday?
It was on Sky. Was it Newcastle? Was it Newcastle Villa? Might have been Newcastle Villa. No, Chelsea Palace, wasn't it? It was Chelsea Palace. Yeah. So he just on everything.
I know. And he says so much about saying very little as well. So the question was from Daniel Etheridge, who said, what do you guys think is the real reason the media is so defensive of Frank? Every non-Spurs creator and mainstream media member is rallying behind him. I actually disagree about non-Spurs creator, because I think most fans, I think if you
rival fans are rallying behind him.
Yeah, because they want him to stay. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But if you were to ask any of our mates or colleagues, so to speak, who kind of work in this space, I think most of them would say that you need to fucking get rid of him. Every time I watch Pitchside, Tom, who I know has a very soft spot for Tottenham, but he's sitting there going, how the fuck's this guy still in a job? I think most people are like that. I think it's the mainstream media that the bigger problem. And then we had another question that was along similar lines from... and thank you for your questions, guys, because we've got quite a few.
And that doesn't help, but the mainstream media being on Frank's side makes it so much easier for the club, by the way, because it does kind of feel like Tottenham fans on social media are almost being drowned out in a lot of ways by everyone on Match of the Day, these huge footballing podcasts, not really talking about it, and when they do, saying that Frank needs time to turn things around without actually really any substance. It massively takes the pressure off the club, in my opinion, that kind of thing. And obviously the fans and the social media Tottenham fans, we put pressure on the club. But if the mainstream media was then going, if you had... It makes such a difference. Say if you had Jamie Carragher on Stick to Football or The Overlap, or going, how's he still in a job? Or you've got the pundits on Match of the Day going, look how bad this is, and highlighting how bad we have been for months and months and months. That all would just help so much in terms of piling the pressure on Frank.
Yeah, even when I went on The Overlap last week, when I was talking and Scholes just butted in and was like,
mate.
Yeah, I've got a lot of injuries at the moment. It's like, yeah, but... And this is kind of... This leads me to one of the other questions as well, kind of along the same lines. It said... Do you get the feeling from John Ortiz? Did you get the feeling the media wants Spurs to fail? Ange and Frank both going through incredible injury crises. One was achieving something and sticking up for the club. The other is floundering with no identity and slagging off the fan base, but gets grace, but the other didn't. So what is the only thing that I can... Well, there's two things I can think of, and it's kind of what John alluded to there, is that Ange wasn't afraid to bite back at the media whatsoever, which then in turn led to more questions and more scrutiny over his position from the actual media themselves, whereas Frank isn't really doing that at all. So then that leads to the kind of people coming into the presses and they're not really going at him necessarily.
I've also got to say that I think the big difference right now, well, one of the differences right now is because it's Frank's first 6 months. And if you actually look at Ange's first 6 months, Ange was treated incredibly well by the media.
Yeah, he was.
In the first 6 months.
It's a breath of fresh air, isn't it?
Yeah. It was the second season when it had been bad for a while that really started to pile up, and Ange got quite a lot more snappy. Like, I don't think it's fair to just say throughout his whole time, Ange Postecoglou got absolutely slaughtered by the media and Thomas Frank's got a free pass.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's an actual reflection of what happened, but
I
do hear
comparative situations.
Yeah. No, I hear that absolutely, and I think that
like
Ange
you said, it was worse for longer than we thought. Yeah, no, you are totally right. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Also, I think Thomas Frank has done a lot of media work with these people as well, and I think because Thomas Frank has been in the Premier League for a long time.
Yeah,
I think
that's the reason. Yeah,
Ange was the sort of character that the English media don't particularly like. Really,
he backs himself, and I think
same as Liam Rosenior.
Yeah,
in a very different way, but same as Liam Rosenior.
The thing with Ange for me was that they knew they'd get a response from him. They knew they could get a rise out of him, even if that rise was really strongly backing himself and coming out with these quotes like, I'll always win things in my second year, etc. That's the media's job at the end of the day, is to get something for their headlines out of these managers. And I think that Ange was a lot easier to get something out of than Frank. I don't think Frank ever really says much. Like, there's almost no point in asking him these questions. Unless you want him to do something Arsenal related, then he'll happily oblige, of course. But I don't think that it's...
Or say that we're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, literally. I just think Ange was somebody who the media knew that they could get a headline out of, and got headlines out of him consistently, whether in a positive or negative way.
Spot on.
But I just think Thomas Frank is almost just so boring. It's not really something the media... I don't think the media really care about Frank. Like, I think alongside the media backing Frank, I also think it's alarming how little chat there is about Spurs in the general media, in the wider conversation, because we're just so uninteresting. Like, Frank is boring, our team's boring, we're probably not going to go down, we're doing okay in the Champions League. It's all fucking boring if you're looking from the outside looking in right now, aren't you, really? So
what has to happen? Do we have to go into the relegation zone for this to be a thing?
Yeah. I think if Spurs... It's insane. We've lost to Brentford and drawn to Burnley. Like, I still feel like I'm not hearing much about us outside of our own little bubble, which is the Spurs fan bubble. Maybe other people have seen more than me, right? But I just feel like right now it's the United story, it's the Arsenal story, it's the Liverpool story. Like, you look at Liverpool and how much better they are than us, but still the amount of scrutiny. I know that Liverpool are a way bigger club, whatever, but the amount of scrutiny on them right now for one loss in their last 15 games against Bournemouth, I know that they've had some poor draws in there, whatever, but compared to the scrutiny on Frank Spurs, I do think it is kind of alarming how little we're hearing. And I think maybe part of that is because we haven't had a big game in a while as well. Like, I feel like there was a lot of chat about us after the Liverpool game, but because we've not had many big games over the Christmas period in terms of Sky Sports televised playing another big side, maybe over the next couple of weeks when we've got the North London derby, City game, the Newcastle game, the United game, it probably is all about to change, and it will start to become a real topic of conversation. Especially like this weekend, our game is the biggest game of this weekend, maybe outside of Liverpool versus Newcastle, but... Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a weird one at the moment with Frank and the media, but it just feels like there was no fucking pressure on him after the game at the weekend. Like, it's mental. You've not heard a rumour, you've not heard a report, you've not really heard anyone slandering him. I don't know. Maybe people just expect it now and just think we're crap, so it's not even a conversation, but I don't know.
I've got a question for you before we move on to the rest of the questions. If you look at our fixtures in February, how many points do you think we pick up from Man City, Man United, Newcastle, Arsenal?
Man City, Man United, Newcastle, Arsenal. Under Frank, 0.
Yeah.
Genuinely
I think
0.
Newcastle is the only one where I'm looking at thinking I think we can
maybe
get something
draw.
there, because they've been bad and their away form is really poor.
Nah, but they do sit back away. I think they'll sit back against us, and on the I think we'll play into their hands, like the space that players like Gordon and Barnes will have to run into at the Tottenham Stadium when when we are trying to hold on to possession for the life of us.
Yeah, but that is the only one. That is the only one you're looking at and thinking,
yeah.
And
that's the only one I look at and think draw.
United as well is the only other one because it's like I think Carrick hasn't really
faced a team like
faced a low block, and if we were to go there and just try and stink the place out and get a point, which I'd take a point and run there. I just think
they've got the players to produce the moments of quality against low blocks
and momentum as well. Yeah, I do think that as well.
I actually think City is the likeliest for us to actually get points in. I think because they will have a lot of the ball. I think they're weak defending transitions at the moment, so I think that there's potential there. Yeah, I think there's potential there for Spurs, but
what do you do if we go unbeaten in February?
I mean, that would mean that we don't lose to Arsenal, which would be like best day of my life. So, yeah, I don't know. As long as we don't get genuinely, I'm at the point now where as long as we don't get battered and humiliated again like the last North London derby, I'm okay with it at this point. Yeah. I'm so used to just being humiliated in that game. Imagine we lost to City and
beat Arsenal.
Oh,
imagine that! Literally, the City could then go above them.
Yeah.
At least we got to smile yesterday. That was.
I feel glorious. The more I think about it, the more I want us to lose to City. I'm joking. I would never want Spurs to lose, but low key.
Yeah. Imagine. Yeah, it's gonna put a real spanner in the works. If Arsenal lose to Leeds on Saturday, we're like 1 point.
Shit. Yeah, 1 point in it. Oh shit. That would. That's a conundrum.
Okay. Relegated and win the Champions League, and Arsenal don't win a trophy, or Spurs
easily
stay
that.
up imagine
easily that.
Because I still think
win the Champions League.
Relegated with the Champions League and Arsenal bottle everything.
That'd be like the best season of all time. That'd be the funniest season of all time.
Would you take that right now though? Like no other alternative option. Like would you actually take that?
To win the Champions League and Arsenal bottle the league, but we get relegated.
Yeah,
I'd shake your hand right now, mate. I'd shake your hand now.
Because I still think somehow we'd have the last laugh still. That would be brilliant.
And that would. Okay,
what about if they win the league?
No.
Oh, I've got one for you. What about get relegated, beat Arsenal in the Champions League final, but they win the league?
Yeah, I'd do that. Yeah. Yeah, beating Arsenal in the Champions League final would be the greatest day of my life, and that would take the shine off their Premier League title in a way that nothing else could.
You lost to a relegated Spurs team in the Champions League final. That'd be brilliant.
Why are we doing this?
Let's do some questions.
Why are we doing this?
Similar question from Tottenham Chicken. What are the odds we win a league game other than City? I think, like I said, Newcastle have got a chance, but
a league game. What, for the rest of the season?
I'm guessing he means in the next. Well, yeah, maybe in the rest of the season. Yeah,
still chances are low.
I think we're a bit fortunate as well. The next few weeks, I think there's a lot of teams in and around us that are playing each other.
Right.
I think Forest's next 3 games, I think they're playing like Palace and Leeds. Maybe I think
it's
there's a lot. Of
unbelievable that we're talking like this and he's still here. The standard is so low for this football club. It's unbelievable.
Okay, we had another question from someone that said Robbie Keane is an interim manager. Josh
wouldn't mind it at all.
With Rory Delap as his assistant, isn't he?
He might even be my top choice for like coming in for the rest of the season, just because of how much the fan base loves him and he's actually a proper manager.
Yeah, I think so. What have you made of all the Kieran McKenna chat over the last few days?
Oh, I'd love that. I would love Kieran McKenna as an interim.
Knows the club as well. Knows the club.
Yeah. Like in as an interim, yes. If he does well, potential full time. Because I do think he's the kind of manager like we've seen over recent years, where their football massively scales up, like Carrick has, like Company has, where you look at them playing with teams that don't have the same level of quality, despite the fact they've dominated the Championship both times they've been in it. They're on a great run of form right now in the Championship. Yeah. I think they lost to Sheffield United.
They got beached for a 3-1 at the weekend, but they won like 5 games in a row before that. I think.
Yeah, but they've been good outside.
They're going to come up. They're going to come up, I think.
So it's like McKenna has proved that he can be a manager that, like, I almost think doing it in the Championship these days, and like being a manager in the Championship, a young manager who can coach a side to win the league and play really good football is quite a good indication, a better indication of like a mid-table Prem manager, in my opinion, these days, potentially. I mean, obviously all varies from manager to manager, but I wouldn't be put off from McKenna just because they got relegated. I think their squad was quite poor in the Prem, and I
do agree. Also, it was like a bit like with Carrick, wasn't it? Carrick and McKenna were the kind of brains behind the Solskjaer run at Man United, weren't they? They were the ones that very much
all day long. And obviously, like you said, links to the club as well. So
I mean, Carrick jumped ship Rob Edwards jumped ship at Borough, didn't he, when he got the chance to manage Wolves? So maybe McKenna would do the same for Tottenham.
I just don't think McKenna would jump at an interim opportunity. I think he'd only come if we made him actually permanent manager. Which would I be hugely against? Probably in our current predicament, no.
No, I don't think I would either. I think it would. I think he's the sort of a point. I don't know whether. I think he'd galvanise a lot of the fan base. To be fair, I think he's
not the most. I'll be honest. He's not the most inspiring character to listen to. So
neither is Carrick, though. I don't think. I think Carrick's just quite calm. Like I think they're quite similar. Carrick's got a bit more aura. Like, I think when you look at him on the touchline in that jacket, I think we do like. There's something there with Carrick. But
I low-key just want a manager who can make me feel something in a press conference again. Bring back Ange. Would you take Ange on an interim till the end of the season, or would you keep Frank?
I mean, the underlying numbers were right for us, weren't they? A bit unlucky with the XG. Set pieces, wasn't it? Just set pieces, wasn't it? His classic under.
That'd be the funniest thing I think to ever happen if he came back in his interim. How different would
things be if Ange had a set piece coach in that first season we got Champions League and didn't have to worry about that Man
Can we keep Frank to purely coach set pieces because we're really good from them and we don't concede any, and then have Ange Postecoglou as our actual manager?
Starts from a set piece. This is the mental thing about. Also,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, fair. I mean, this is also the mental thing about Saturday is that for a manager that's tried to make us really defensively solid, the marking for that first goal was fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, literally.
Carl Freegard said top 3 potential manager replacements and why. I mean, long term, I think we've spoken about this before. Xabi Alonso, Nagelsmann.
Will any of them come? No. The level below that, like you said, Kieran McKenna, Michael Carrick on a permanent potentially in the summer if he does well as a United interim and then they don't take up that full-time role with him.
I think they will. I think Carrick will be the next Man United manager. I think they'll go on a good run. I think that. Oh, do you know what I think is a bit unfair, right? Is that when I agreed with the sentiment initially of like what Neville was saying about I don't think they can give it to him. I think they've just got to make sure that this is an interim thing. But then, if he just does do really well, has he not earned it? Like it's such a weird thing with those interim.
And then they've got the potential. If he does brilliantly, they sack him, not sack him, but the interim comes to an end, and then they go and get a manager who then performs poorly,
and he goes somewhere else and does well.
Yeah, go and get Michael Carrick.
Carrick will get a Prem job, wouldn't he? If he does well at United and gets binned off, he'll get a Prem job, definitely.
I imagine so, yeah.
Also, other name, McKenna. I still think I'm not as against Pochettino as some other people. I just want to feel something. For now, wouldn't mind the idea of Robbie Keane, McKenna, as you said, on that basis either.
To be honest, I wouldn't be confident in Robbie Keane at all, but again, just make me feel something.
Fuck it.
Keane with Defoe as assistant and Crouchy as assistant as well.
They both came back. I saw a tweet from someone earlier, from Charlie Parish, that last time we were in a genuine relegation
January
danger,
2009.
Yeah, I actually forgot that we were still in the relegation zone at that point in the season.
That's insane.
But it was we signed Defoe, Keane, Palacios and Cudicini and got Chimbonda back.
Wilson Palacios, some boy. Our only Honduras footballer ever.
Quality as well. Like before his brother got kidnapped. Like not to make light of that situation, but he was absolute quality before that.
Mate, Wilson Palacios at the 2010 World Cup for Honduras was an absolute goat.
What a plur. Other questions. Sorry, I just went off the page for questions. Bogart says, would results ever get so bad you'd refuse to go to games / sell your tickets? If yes, how close are you to that point?
No.
You're not really at the moment, to be honest. Not really.
No, well, so it's different for me because I'm not a season ticket holder. Ben is. I obviously go to pretty much every game, but I didn't go to the West Ham game because it was like I did have other things on. I was like, normally I'd been off those other things to go and watch Spurs. Like normally I'm at Spurs every week, but I was like in that situation. I was like, I just would prefer, and it's 65 quid. So I have done it once or twice this season, but in general, like I was there for the Leicesters, the Ipswiches last season. Like as bad as it gets, I think Spurs through thick and thin, baby. You know, this is. You still got to remember that we are still playing Premier League football. We're not in the relegation zone. We do still have some very talented footballers. It's not all doom and gloom, I don't think. And I don't think it's anywhere near bad enough for me to stop going to games altogether.
Yeah, I do agree. I also don't, if people don't want to go, I totally also respect
totally
that.
fair. Yeah, totally fair. Like
I would say that I've been a bit more relaxed coming back to my seat for half time on time. I think that's probably as about as... Well,
and it's so expensive.
Me and my stepdad... we missed the Odebear goal for the Villa game because we were just having a pint downstairs, and I think that was like 57 minutes in.
Yeah.
So I'd say I've become a bit more relaxed in that way, but yeah, I'm not going to not go.
It's one of those things where me and Ben are in a privileged position where our job is talking about football and making football content, and so it's kind of like a reinvestment going to Spurs in a lot of ways, and like, you know, you get content out of it, etc. Like, it's not just the case of we've worked incredibly hard Monday to Friday to earn our money, and we just rather do something else with the money at the weekend because of how expensive it is. Like, this is kind of our job in a lot of ways. So I guess it's kind of different for me and you in some ways than other people who might have, you know, me and Ben don't go out and graft 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. It's not our job. So I completely get how other people could kind of view it in a different way.
My nails look like this, so my girlfriend's can look like that with, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're stay-at-home husbands, mate.
We had literally. My girlfriend's probably about to come back from work any minute.
That's class.
But there was another question along the similar lines to that about protests and why. What was it? I'll find it here.
Oh yeah.
And usually with stuff like that, I'll kind of just ignore it. But I wanted to answer this question because I think it kind of goes on the similar lines, because we had a question. Well, what group chat did I put it in? Hold on, I'm trying to find it now. It was saying basically like, what, I can't even find it. I literally can't find it.
I think
it was like basically like, why do you and Seb not go to protests? You speak out against the ownership, and it feels like your presence there could be helpful. Blah blah blah. What was it?
One sec. You did put it in the chat earlier. I'm just scrolling up. I don't actually know when you did put it in the chat, but you did definitely put it in the chat, I'm pretty sure. It was from Jay Dalton, though. Yeah. In the reply to your comments, I think.
That's his name. I think it was. I think that's his name.
Yeah, but it was along the lines of you two are quite vocal about not...
Got it here. Why don't you or Seb ever attend Tottenham protests? You have a big following and proclaim your hatred towards the board while also consistently going to the games where the protests happen. You yet never attend any. I'd imagine it would help if people like you two attended. First of all, and I don't mean this in a horrible way, mind your own fucking business. I'm joking. The thing is, I don't really do it because going to Tottenham for me, as much as like all of the things that you said about like are valid, but also like I've been going to Tottenham with my stepdad for 22 years, and I've moved out of home now, so I don't see him on a daily basis. We ring each other and we talk about Tottenham or whatever, but I support a lot of the protests that go on. Yeah. But I decide to personally use my time pre-going to Spurs to go to the pub and have a catch up with my old man. Like that's why I do it, and that's why I've never really been that. I've never attended any of them, and I don't think you have to be supportive of it either. Really necessarily, no. I think there's a lot of people that are in the same boat. I think absolutely fair play to what the Change for Tottenham lot are doing, and maybe it would make a difference if we were there. Would it make a difference if me and you were there?
No.
I don't know if it would. Why would the club listen just because we're there? Maybe it's because people think that us supporting it could help it gain more traction. I think it's got a lot of traction anyway.
Yeah, and also just don't think I think people maybe overestimate how large our influence is over things like that. Like, I don't think we're. I mean, I'm a similar boat to you in terms of I like my match day routine at the minute. I also need to catch up with Rob before the start of games. One of my favourite little rituals before the game. Obviously, I meet Ben and Rob most weeks for a pint, Kish as well. Obviously, everybody knows. And I don't know, it's one of those things where, like the last protest, for example, from my personal point of view, I didn't have strong enough feelings on the ownership quite yet to go and protest it before the game.
The West Ham one?
The West Ham one, my feelings are more bubbled up over the course of the January transfer window, and I don't know. I feel like at that point maybe the angle wasn't there to as strong a degree, and I'm not, making excuses. I'm the same as Ben. I've never really attended protests. I've never really been one that will go and sort of fly the flag at the protest, whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's never really been something that I've done or had much like the Levy stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just never been something that I'm like. I was always supportive of it, like you, and I would always sort of repost it on the socials and stuff, and the awareness.
Speak about it.
I would raise about it, and maybe that does make me a hypocrite. Maybe that does make me a sort of, I don't know, bit of an arsehole for doing that and then not turning up to the protest. But I don't know what it is. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just not something that I ever really even think about. I'm just like, I'm going Spurs. Want to go see Ben and Kish for a pint beforehand. If I'm going with Frankie or any of my other mates that come, go and meet them for a pint beforehand. Turn up and watch Spurs. That's painful enough as it is anyway. And I don't know. Just not really something that I do. But
I do agree.
I respect everyone that goes and does it. It maybe if I feel strongly enough at some point, then, and I kind of feel very strongly about it now. To be fair, maybe the next one I will turn up. Who knows? You never know. You never know. But
also, for example, like even little things like I do try and make a conscious effort to. I'll get pie at half time if I'm hungry. But we used to drink in the stadium a lot before the games. It's like I don't really do that anymore because I don't want to get. I'd rather go to the pub. I don't want to really give the money to the club.
Merchants will
and those kind of things. It's like I do stuff like that. I feel like I'm making a conscious effort of. But also sometimes it's like you go there. It's like we'll get there half an hour before, and you go pint. It's like all right then. So it's like it's very easy for people to go. We're just not going to do this. And I do full respect for people that. Do that and do protest and those kind of things. I just like I said,
absolutely.
My match day routine is what it is, and I just don't think it's ever going to really change unless I really felt strongly enough to be like, no, I think we're actually going to do this, and then Rob would be at the front protesting against Enoch, which would be very funny.
Yeah. I also no, it's good. Yeah. That pretty much summarises my thoughts on it. But yeah, any more questions?
If Thomas Frank is 5 inches in you and you're 5 inches in Johan Lange, are you moving forwards or backwards?
Definitely forwards. First of all, I'd rather bum someone than get bummed. And second of all, Johan Lange is probably, it's close, but he's probably a little bit better looking than Thomas Frank. And he's a little bit more voluptuous, if you know what I mean. So I'd probably move forward in that situation.
You reckon Frank's arse is a bit bony?
Yeah, I think so. Also, do you imagine
giving back shots to Thomas Frank?
That's crazy. Yeah. But, anyway, bit of a different change of vibe there from not attending protest to back shots with Frank.
That was THFC Tell. Thanks for that, guys. If Infamous Duncan, is Vinay actively trying to lower fan reactiveness by not sacking Frank? Have we grown accustomed to sacking managers under Levy? Every week it's an untenable job, and every week he's still here. What if Frank isn't lying and he's actually very safe and comfortable in his role?
He is safe and comfortable. We know he is. And yeah, maybe. I don't think he's doing it to lower fan reactionness, because I think he's made fans even more angry, the fact that he's not getting sacked week upon week. But I think he wants to change the culture at Spurs in terms of the sacking culture. But I also don't think that there is a massive sacking culture if the coach is just actually doing his job. Because you've seen when Mauricio Pochettino was at Tottenham Hotspur, he was the coach for 5.5 years, and he didn't get sacked. Guess why? Because he was doing a really, really good job up until the point where he wasn't, and he probably needed to go at that point. There were so many other issues. We didn't back him, whatever, and it would have been a different story if the ownership acted differently. But at the point where he got sacked, you could totally see the reasons as to why he got sacked.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't necessarily his fault, but he also deserved to go. Yeah,
if Frank goes, by the way, every manager that we've ever sacked at Tottenham in my lifetime, I think that I've been at the point where I'm like, I think I can see why they're going to get sacked here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Like,
it's not. I've never felt
like.
I was really upset about Poch, but it wasn't.
So
you
was
could
I.
again. You could rationalise it. Like, I was glad when they saw the back of Conte, like, because I fucking hated him by the end. And Mourinho was the same.
Look at Chelsea. Look at so many other clubs in the past where they've sacked a manager and it's breeded success. Like, I think that like, for example, the Maresca sacking. Like, we've never had one like that where come off the back of winning 2 trophies, doing okay the season following on from that. The manager has spoken out about the hierarchy, and then they've been sacked. Like, we've never had anything like that where it's like, how on earth do I even feel here? Like, what's going on? I think Chelsea fans have a less emotional reaction to that kind of thing because they're so used to that. We're not Chelsea. We don't sack managers every year just because we're 6th in the league. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
How much Lego can you stuff up your bum? From THFCJMM_.
Up my bum?
Yeah, a few pieces of Duplo maybe.
Depends. I think the long and skinny ones, I reckon I could maybe fit a few. The more chunky ones, I think would be a struggle for me, to be honest. I've never tried though, so
maybe we could try. Maybe
Is
we could try
lube
after this.
involved? Or anyway, let's just move on.
I think you're allowed to. Yeah, I think you're allowed to use lube. FPL matters. If you had to field a starting 11 or 10 minus the goalie of the same player from our current squad, who would you choose and why? If we include unavailable players, I pick Kulusevski.
Starting 11 of every single... Bro, if we had 11 Mickey van der Ven, we'd win the league comfortably.
Good point. Yeah, I think it's Van der Ven or Kulusevski for me.
Nah, Kulusevski doesn't have the physicality. He doesn't have the pace for me. Bro, imagine having 11 Mickey van der Vens. They'd literally eat. Imagine the press with 11 Mickey van der Vens. He'd actually
but
eat
what if
you
their
alive.
hamstrings all go at the same time?
Well, then you've got 11 more Mickey van der Vens to bring on in the squad, mate. This is a squad game. A squad of Mickey van der Vens.
That's a very good point. Other than Van der Ven, who else would you pick?
Genuinely, right? Dominic Solanke.
Yeah, Jed Spence is not a bad shout.
Not technical enough, I don't think. Like the midfield and attack would be a struggle. I think defensively we'd be good. Just 11 João Paulinhos, just fucking all of them on yellow cards come the end of the game.
Which one would you not think might be the best? But which one would you be like the most intrigued to see? Like who's like 10? 11.
I'd be so interested to see how Kudus actually did in every position. So I feel like he could be really good, but he's also an attacking winger. Yeah, he could. I think he's got the highest ceiling, lowest floor.
Yeah.
Kevin Danso, 11 Kevin Dansos would be interesting. Mate, imagine long throws into 11 Kevin Dansos, or into 9 Kevin Dansos. That would be cold.
11 Romeros? I'd score a lot of goals.
I don't know. The positioning would be all over the place in that side.
True. At least we'd finally get to see what people have been saying. I'll stick Romero in the 6.
Yeah. 11 progressive passes though. That would be cold.
True.
Again, like wing play would be a struggle, whereas Mickey van der Ven could just knock it round his fullback every single time.
Left hand side. Yeah.
It'd be. Imagine 3 central midfield Mickey van der Ven's box crashing. Oh my god.
It's got to be Van der Ven. Isn't it?
It's got to be Van der Ven.
Let's do final question. Michael Hocking just says, "Why are we proper wank?"
Facts.
We just are,
Michael.
And Oz THFC says, I think that's the last one. Would you take? Actually, there's just another funny one I've seen. Would you take Arnie Slot on if he gets sacked? Seems like no brainer to me.
Nope.
Would you not?
Not for me.
I wouldn't be against it, but I wouldn't. He wouldn't be anywhere near the top of my list. I wouldn't mind.
Purely because I've been so disappointed with the football that he's played for Liverpool this season.
It's a big shift in style, isn't it? I suppose, but even with the players coming in,
I also just think that he'll be so heavily scrutinised coming into Spurs, and people will almost be quite down on him, like his stocks are down because of what he's done at Liverpool this season. That I don't think he'll give the lift that the club needs. Potentially, but he's won the Premier League. So
he's also not really a strong enough character. I think he's not.
He wouldn't be top choice for me. I think he's a strong character. To be fair, I don't think he's like a.
But is he going to galvanise? Like I think he was quite unassuming almost when he went into Liverpool, wasn't he? I know
low key, we need an Italian manager. They're a disaster waiting to happen, but low key, we just need someone to come in here and just give us.
If Juventus just like for some reason just leaves
the football they're playing battered Napoli at the weekend, yeah. But Spalletti will never manage outside of Italy, apparently, or doesn't want to manage another European leagues. He doesn't want to learn English, apparently. So
boring. Final question from George, who says, "If Frank remains, is there a chance we start a game with 11 defenders? We started with 8 at the weekend."
If Frank remains, there's a chance that I don't make it to the end of the season.
Yeah, there's a chance I start supporting another football team.
Yeah, there's a chance that I cease to exist.
11 defenders. Yeah. If we started, 8 defenders we started at the weekend.
11 Mickey van der Vens.
Yeah.
How many defenders do we start? 8.
Yeah, Spence. If you count Basuma and Gallagher, it's not 8.
You can't count Basuma and Gallagher as defenders.
Okay, I was like defensive midfield. So if you started with who would come in? Okay, if you did start, say midfield, you're just starting 2 defensive-minded midfielders like Gray and
Paulinho and Bentancur.
Paulinho, yeah. Who would you play up front? Move Romero up front.
Solanke's low-key a bit of a defensive 9.
Yeah, true. Who else could come in though? Have we got any more defenders?
If you play Sousa at left wing back, Udogie left wing, and Spence right wing, and then Porro right wing back, Danso, Romero, Van der Ven at centre backs.
Also, didn't Amorim do that against Leeds? The game he got sacked, he played like 9 defensive players.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Wasn't it just like
Dorgu left wing?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair,
it was insane. Yeah,
Bale arc for Cunha, for Dorgu, sorry.
Yeah, mate, he's been good. What a goal! We didn't even chat about the hate watch yesterday. That brought a little smile to my face. I'd say more like jumping around my bedroom when I threw my
dog off my lap. Felt quite bad. I was around my parents and I've got a little sausage dog and he was sitting on my lap and
he's well cute.
When Cunha wrapped that in the bottom corner, he went flying.
Mate, I was watching it with my gooner mate, and he was absolutely he was absolutely getting an earful. The thing is, he's just
so good as well. Like that is a perfect kind of winning goal for a hate watch as well. Like that is
right after they'd equalised as well.
Yeah,
literally, I said to Henry, I was like, "Shout out Henry if you're listening." Definitely not. He's an Arsenal fan while he listens to this podcast. But he literally said right after they equalised, he was like, "We're going to get a winner here." And I was like, "What have you conceded though?" He's like, "That's not even worth thinking about. We're not conceding now." Bang, Mateus Cunha 3-2. Oh my god! I was smacking him.
I preferred it to the Dorgu goal as well. I think I love goals like that.
Way better.
Yeah,
because Dorgu's he's kind of low key, unreal finish, but he's kind of sliced across it a little bit. Like I don't know. And the Cunha one,
barring in, saved the aesthetics of it a bit.
It did, yeah. If that hadn't hit the bar and gone in normally, then that wouldn't have looked anywhere near as nice as a goal. And the Cunha one, you can see exactly what he's tried to do and he's executed. The way it curls around Gabriel, oh, mate, a little bit of as Troy Deeney would say, a little bit of jizz in my pants, as you said. But which was one of the craziest things I've ever heard a man say on a podcast, and he was like fully serious as well. But yeah.
Anyway,
isn't that like a BBC produced podcast as well? But anyway,
was it on the I think so. I
don't know. Also, one of the quote tweets that absolutely killed me when somebody put, "It's the most Troy Deeney thing ever to have an empty bookcase right behind him, like a row of like shelves for books, and for them to just all be empty, no books in sight."
Yeah.
That is the most Troy Deeney thing ever. So yeah.
Yeah, very funny. Right, we'll leave it there for today. Thanks, guys, for watching / listening.
Hour and 16, my God.
Mate,
have we done that?
Absolutely flown through this. Make sure to go and follow us on our individual YouTube channels, because TikTok might be in the bin. We're still waiting for the update, really. Also, make sure to subscribe to the pod. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that kind of thing. And we'll see you after Frankfurt on probably Thursday.
Frankfurt? Yeah, we're back. We've got me and you have got a bit of a busy day on Thursday. We might even film Wednesday after getting out. I'm there anyway.
You're doing the watch along for the back post, aren't you?
We are. Yeah. Shout if anyone fancies
the watch along.
Yeah, if anyone fancies watching me live on the back post, we will be live on Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning. We will be up bright and early so that we can potentially get the podcast out on Thursday. If not, it will be on Friday morning. So stay tuned for all of that. Yeah. We will also, if we upload the pod on Thursday, we will, or even Friday morning, Friday evening, we'll probably have a Spurs Man City preview out for you as well. So you'll be getting you'll be getting another pod and a little bonus pod as well later this week. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. 5 stars if you're on Spotify. And adios.
Bash.